guys, it is me, Laura, and today I thought I would do a little homeschool update. We are always in our homeschool changing and adapting and adjusting as circumstances change, as the kids change, as I learn more about how they learn. And so I thought I would do kind of a double thing here of just an update on the curriculum we're using and the way we're doing homeschool, as well as a little info about how I am planning our unit studies these days and how those kind of correlate into our homeschool. So basically we are using a workbox system, which I've done a couple videos about that, and it is working really well. It helps us to break up our subjects, and it makes it easy for the boys to know what to do. It forces me to be prepared and ready to go, which makes things run more smoothly, and it's just working really well. As far as Samuel's work boxes go, there has been very little change. Most of the boxes are from his Logic of English lesson, and I just break up each part of the lesson and put it in a different workbox. He had a daily notebook that he was doing, but it was just too frustrating for him. Just wasn't something that was working really well for us. So what I have done, every once in a while, if there's something fun or special for Samuel to journal about so that he has something to look back on, I will have him write, like I'll take a picture and print it out and have him write about it. Well, he'll dictate to me and I'll write about it. But we've moved away from that. It's just not something that he's ready for yet, and I just saw it as something that was not super beneficial. I think when he gets a little older, something like that will be better. So instead, what I do with that drawer is usually I will include a book to read to Samuel. It might be the main book from a unit study, or it might be supplementary books from a unit study. It might be books that are on something specific that he's interested in. Generally, though, they go with our unit study that we're working on, and I'll share more about that a little bit later. And then he has a fun bin, and he's got a logic puzzle kind of bin, and that is pretty much, and of course his math. Math, we're still doing Life Lessons for a Living Education. Works so well for him. He's doing super well with it. I plan to stick with that unless he gets sick of it, but it is just, he's learning and picking up on stuff. The pace is perfect. That's going really well for us. And we're still using ABC Mouse, which has been a lifesaver for me right now. I am not one who enjoys using a lot of technology. I like using documentaries and things like that that are really helpful. I learn best when I watch a documentary versus reading something or other modes. That's just the way my brain is wired, and I think Samuel is that way too. I'm not so sure about Timothy yet. So I like using those, but otherwise I don't like to use a lot of electronics. But ABC Mouse has been a real blessing for us because there are some days that I am just too sick, and it gives us a consistency. So I have appreciated that. Samuel has been picking up on a lot. Timothy's been picking up on a lot. Is it something that we'll do forever? I don't know. But for this season of our homeschool, it has been a huge blessing and a huge help. It's not the core of our homeschool, but it has kind of been the glue to kind of keep everything together with the less predictability of everything with his pregnancy. So I really have appreciated that. Now with Timothy, I have actually added on to his work boxes because he loves school. He will beg, like, when are we going to do homeschool? Are we going to do homeschool today? When do we get to start homeschool? He loves it and eats it up, and he learns so differently from Samuel. It has been an adjustment for me, and I think it's one of the cool things of homeschool because you can really adapt to each child, but it's also a challenging thing of homeschool because if you have children who learn extremely differently and you've already done things one way, you kind of have to refigure it out again for the second. But it has been really fun. I've been enjoying it. So Timothy's first work box is always a book, and I picked out a bunch of books at the beginning of the school year that I specifically wanted to kind of do maybe fun activities with him with and kind of have fun with. But I also will just pick based on stuff that he's really interested in. And that ensures that I have time to stop and read to him something that's focused on him that he enjoys. He loves that time. And then I have two kind of phonics-y work boxes. And what goes in them varies slightly, and I'll show you my lesson plans for that a little bit. But basically what I've done is I've taken the Foundations Logic of English program, and each lesson I spread it out over about a week's worth, and we focus on one whole letter during the week. And I just split those activities between the two work boxes. They're a lot more artsy, craft, hands-on. I never did stuff like that with Samuel because I won't say never. I didn't do as much of it because he didn't like it. Timothy really, really likes it a lot. So I try and do a lot of that with him. And I also have a box for Timothy that is math, and his math curriculum has changed a lot. He, like Samuel, does not like the hands-on manipulative math. He wasn't crazy about farmland math where you move him. He likes playing with the animals in the map, but he didn't want to do the math stories. He doesn't like the Cuisinart rods. He just likes stories, just like his brother as far as math is concerned. So I have moved to using Evan Moore's Everyday Literacy math, and I'm actually doing the K level for Timothy because that's where he's at. And then once a week we still do mathematical reasoning, beginning B or beginning 2, I don't remember whether it's a number or a letter there, but he still really, really loves that. He just doesn't want to do it every day. And then he also has a drawer that there's always his Bambino Luke, like his logic puzzles, and there's something fun in there like stickers or a wipe clean book or an art book. And then he's got some bins that are just for fun. So if he runs out of things to do and I'm still working with Samuel, there's usually blocks in there and a puzzle and some kind of art, something that he can just work on his own. And so that is kind of where we're at with those. We are still doing, the first thing we do every day is we've actually added hymn study, and we are using Hymns for a Kid's Heart. I've had that for a long time, and so each week they take turns picking a hymn from here, and every day we'll listen to the hymn. We memorize the memory verse that goes with it. There's several little stories and stuff, so we'll read one of those a day, and there's not quite enough stuff to get through the whole week, but it usually works pretty well. We'll spend a day just looking at the lyrics and talking about them, and so that works really well to kind of kick off our homeschool day. And then on Mondays, we do What's in the Bible with Buck Denver, and so we'll watch that together. And I had a whole lesson plan made out for that, but it was just too much for my kids, so we will watch that on Monday, and then we'll watch it again to kind of reinforce, usually either on Wednesday or Friday, just depending on how the week goes. All the rest of the days we use this big picture interactive storybook Bible, which we've had for a while. We really, really like this. And so what I'll do is I will section off the stories that go with what we're learning in What's in the Bible with Buck Denver, and they'll take turns picking stories for me to read to them. And it just is really simple, and that's what we do for Bible. And then we rotate through unit studies. So we have geography, science, and history. And so we'll go in that order. So we'll do geography unit, and then we'll do a science unit, and then we'll do a history unit. I will usually have supplemental books that go in Samuel's workbox, and we'll do that with the beginning of the day. Like today we started our unit study on South America for geography. So the book that I had in Samuel's bin was a book about a missionary who went to South America. Tomorrow it's going to be a book about a famous orchestra that was created, and all their instruments were made just out of junk. And it's an actual story from South America. And so I'll just be putting in a lot of different cultural stories. And then in the afternoon, we do more hands-on stuff, or sometimes we'll do videos, or sometimes we'll do cooking and different things, except I haven't been doing much of that lately. But I'm going to go ahead and turn this around and show you a little bit of what I do to lesson plan for those things. Okay, so I'm not going to go into great detail. If you guys want to see more of these, I plan to show you at the end of the unit studies what we did. But this is I will put a link to this actually below. This is what I use for our geography unit study. Everything is based off of the book Children Just Like Me from DK. We also use the Usborne Geography Encyclopedia and the Usborne World of Animals. And so what I do is I just break it up based on the Children Just Like Me book. And then these are like the core books, the pages that we use, any websites or things to watch, things to find on the map, food that we can cook, flags to color, and then over here in this column, these are all books, living books. Most of them are either historical fiction or based on true stories, but a lot of them are storybooks. I think I've got one chapter book in here. And these are just stories to kind of help us relate to the culture and what's happening, what goes on in this part of the world. And these are the books that I will put in Samuel's work boxes. Sometimes it'll just be one book a day. Sometimes it'll be the same book for several days because it's a longer book or a chapter book or whatnot. And this is just kind of how I keep track of all of that. What I've gone ahead and done with this chapter, any printouts that we need, any maps, any flags we're going to color, any of that, I've already printed it out and put it in a folder so that it's just, I can just grab it and go. So that's kind of how I do that. This is how I keep track of phonics for Timothy. So every day he'll have one of these boxes, and then I just kind of, depending on what it is, decide how to break it up, because I've only got 2 boxes that this is going in. And so usually he'll have a letter to decorate on the first day, and we'll find the letter in Doodling Dragons, and then he'll have an activity from his Foundations, the Logic of English book. And then the next day we have printables from Confessions of a Homeschooler, so it's like find the letter, and you use do-a-dot markers, so he'll do that. And then we have the Lizard Lou book from All About Reading. It's just poems, but they're based on the alphabet letters, so we'll read that. And then again, all of the bottom activities are activities from the Logic of English. And so here he'll do Play-Doh or Wiki Sticks letters, and he'll do handwriting. And then usually we'll do an animal book here and some kind of animal craft. That can change a little bit. And then the last day we'll try and do a game or something fun, hands-on. He might play with alphabet puzzles or things like that. And then I have an alphabet sticker book for him, and he'll always do that on that day. And so then it kind of cycles through with letter O. It's very similar. And that's kind of how I do his lesson planning and keep it going there. For history, this is my document that I've shared. And I'm actually doing something different this unit study, in that I have one book that is going to kind of last the full. This section is the French and Indian War, and it's going to be using the matchlock gun and the story of Mary Jemison. And these 2 are going to be what I put in Samuel's workbox. So we'd only do like a chapter or whatever. And then we have some different things to read aloud, some different other books that we're doing. And I'm actually writing an entire complete unit study for The Indian Captive. This is such a great book, and it's not going to be finished by the time I go over this with Samuel, but my hope is to have the rough draft done so I can pick a few activities for each chapter for us to do together. And we'll also read the matchlock gun and listen to some of these other things. And so this is kind of how I keep track of it. And then I have right now just a spiral notebook that I'm writing down all my ideas for each chapter in. And that'll be something cool to share with you guys later. So for Samuel's math, I already have everything pulled and ready. So each week is a file folder, and all I have to do is open up the file folder for that week, pull that day's work, and put it in, and it is done. I don't have anything written down. It's just all put together, and I've got that done for, I think, like half of the year. So that's done. And then with Timothy's, what I've done is I went through and I'm basing it on the Evan Moore daily math literacy. And so I have the chapter, and so we'll do 2 pages from that every Monday. And then we have a literature book that I've picked out. These are books that we've already had that help to reinforce the skill being learned. And then the next day we do the other 2 worksheets from the everyday literacy. And then we'll do a craft or an activity that goes with the book and continues to reinforce that same concept. And then every Friday we'll do his mathematical reasoning book, because he really likes that. So our science has pretty much stayed the same. It's not all that different. We do real science for kids, which we love. We read the chapter together, and then we usually watch something. I try and do Magic School Bus because the kids really like that and it gives us a lot to discuss, and I watch it with them and we talk while we're watching it. And I'll try and do something like that to go with it. If there's not a Magic School Bus, I'll try and find something on YouTube. And so we'll do that, and then the next day usually we'll do the experiment and some kind of activity. Now, one thing that I have added is I'm trying really hard to always have living books. So like for this unit with physics, I got a picture book about John Newton because that's fitting for physics, and I also got a chapter book about him, and so that's what will go in Samuel's top drawer, his reading drawer, and we'll read those as we go through this chapter. And then I've also pulled a few other books from our home library about how things work in mechanics and physics and all of that, and we'll just kind of rotate those through. I haven't written any of that down on here, maybe I should, but I just pulled stuff from our shelf mostly. So that's kind of it for our lesson plans, how I do lesson planning. I just fill out those. I love just having those tables in a Google Doc and filling them in and adjusting them how I need to for the subject. I don't like having things planned out every day, like what to do. I like having them a little bit more general where we can pick and choose and see how the day's going. And this works really well for us. My plan is, as we finish these unit studies, to be showing you what we're doing. Right now we're doing our South America unit study, so when I'm done I'll show you all the books and all the resources that we used for that. But that's kind of where we're at with school right now. There are some slight changes we have made, not a ton of big changes. Let me know if you guys have any questions. What do you do for lesson planning? How have you been changing things this school year? I would love to hear from you, and let me know what you guys would like to see when I start sharing some of these unit studies. And also, is it helpful for you to see what I'm putting in the boys' work boxes? Do you want to see more videos like that of what I'm putting in the work boxes and how that's going, or is that not really interesting? I don't know. Let me know, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Sorry this video is so long, but I hope you have a good day. I hope it was helpful. I'll talk to you later. Bye.